Was I there? Did I read it? I'm cool with an emotional roller coaster, but don't play me like that. What has led me here? Why have I chosen this path? Why do I keep doing this to myself? I'm mentally preparing myself to be absolutely soul crushed. I'm going to go into a reading slump. So I'm just gonna move on. Rebecca knew what she was doing in this book. It's finally release day. I started this at like 5:40 this morning, and I did end up buying it on my Kindle. My pre-order from Barnes & Noble says it's not going to be here until Thursday, but they haven't updated it in like 3 days, so I don't have high hopes for that even showing up on Thursday. But anyway, so far so good. Already enjoying it. Can't wait to get into the rest of this. I'm living for this book. Living for it. Violet just found out that a certain someone is here, and her reaction has me very much so questioning why. Also, jealous Satan, I'm here for. I'm here for. I'm going to admit to this, even though there's a really big part of me that doesn't want to, that I just sat there talking to my camera for 5+ minutes, all for it to turn off, and I was confused because I was like, no, I just put a new battery in. I wasn't recording. I just went on a 5-minute+ spiel for it to not be recording. That's embarrassing. Anyway, let me just start from the beginning again here. Anyway, as I was saying, I only got to 20% last night, which is chapter 12. I did not get as far as I really wanted to yesterday, but I have mixed feelings on this book. On the one hand, the first like 12% of this book, maybe like the first 10. Maybe it was 12. I don't know. It was the first handful of chapters. I was lost. I'm not gonna lie. I just got done doing my reread of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and let me tell you, was I there? Did I read it? Because one scene in particular, really, I think I reread that scene like 3 times. They were like getting ready to fight, and it was a huge group, and there was just name dropping left and right, and I was like, who are these people? I don't know if it was me rereading those and just like thinking that they were insignificant, so I'm like, I'm not gonna remember those names. Were they never mentioned? I'm not quite sure. It could be either one, but it had me lost. And I'm pretty sure I read that like 3 times. That's really my only gripe, is like, things will probably get explained later. Things will probably start clicking for me. Maybe. Hopefully. I don't know. Questionable at this point. But on the other hand, I am really enjoying the way that Violet's character is developing in this story. In the first one, she's very much so like just passive, kind of just like goes with what she's always been taught, which is understandable. I mean, if you've been raised and taught something by a whole hundreds of people, you're gonna believe it to be true. But then as things come to light, you know, she kind of starts becoming more, I'm gonna do what's right, even if they don't agree with it, but she still is kind of like dependent on other people. Straight up, this one is just like pretty much taking a page out of Xaden's handbook. Like straight up just does not ask, doesn't tell, just does. If something needs to be done, it's getting done, whether anybody's helping her or not. And she's definitely swaying more towards like the morally gray female main character, and I'm here for it. This is what I want. This is the way that I need it to keep going. I'm really enjoying it. And then on top of that, Xaden's character, of course, never gonna disappoint. Still going strong here. If that changes, don't let that change. Don't let that happen. Don't make me hate him, please. There's also 2 other characters. There was one scene last night where a character showed up. We haven't fully met them yet. Like, they haven't really been a big part of the story, but I'm very curious as to what role they're gonna have, because someone had a very interesting reaction to them being there, and I need more of a backstory on why. What's gonna happen here? Huh? And then, this is the part where my camera shut off, is when I was getting ready to talk about this. I almost ended my Fourth Wing reading career last night. I was straight up ready to throw this against the wall last night. There was a scene that had my heart dropping and some tears were shed. I was only like 15% of the way through this book. How many times are you going to do this to me, Rebecca? How many times am I going to have to feel like I want to wither up and die and throw this into a wall and maybe puke a little bit? I'm cool with an emotional roller coaster, but don't play me like that. Don't do that. Let's keep that to a minimum because I didn't like it, to say the least. Anyway, I'm going to mentally prepare myself because I'm sure waterworks are coming soon. I'm 20% of the way through. I'm not going to gaslight myself into thinking that this is going to be all rainbows and sunshine. I know that my heart's going to get ripped out. It's going to be stomped on one too many times, and I'm going to go probably on like a week hiatus of not reading anything after this book. I'm sure. I'm mentally preparing myself to be absolutely soul crushed and just steamrolled over by this book. I'm ready for it. No, I'm not, but I have to be. The author has straight up said she's not above killing off main characters, and I'm petrified. That statement alone has made me question everything in my life. What has led me here? Why have I chosen this path? Why do I keep doing this to myself? These are all questions that on the daily I ask myself while reading. I hate this man with a passion. I hate him. One of the tropes that gets introduced in this book, I have no words. I have no words. It's doing its thing. I'm 25% of the way through, and let me just tell you, this is a trope I didn't know I needed in this book, but it's here and it's giving everything. Perfection. It's too good. Of course, last night after I went to bed is when like the peak of my reading last night happened. It had me screaming. It had me straight screaming between like the 32% and the 36% mark on here. It's everything. I couldn't last night. I was just absolutely dying. Also last night, sixfold on the Violet just like becoming exactly who I wanted her to become. Like she snaps at some people that like Fourth Wing Violet 100% wouldn't have. Even Iron Flame Violet, I don't think would have. I thoroughly enjoy her in this book. And then on top of that, all I have to say is Jealous Satan is my favorite. Absolutely my favorite. I need this to go on for so much longer. It's too good. Okay, I meant to do this update like 2 days ago because I hit the 50% mark then, but then I read more that night, and yesterday I got to read maybe a chapter, if even. I had no time to read yesterday, and today I made it to the 60% mark so far, so I figured I'd just do the update now. I fear this may be my new obsession. This book is everything so far. I've seen way too many videos of people crying, and I'm scared. The longer that it goes from release date, the more crying videos I see. I've been avoiding social media like the plague because I don't want any spoilers, and I will not have any spoilers. So therefore, social media is a no-go for me right now. I keep finding myself pulling it up, scrolling for like 2 seconds and be like, oh, no. But I guess I really don't have too much of an update from what I've said previously. Everything still holds true. I fear where everything's going with him. I need to know, but I don't want to know. I'm scared. I thought I'd have more of an update from what I've said in previous videos, but I don't think I do. I think pretty much everything that I've said previously still holds true and nothing's changed from that. But the scene that we just had at like the 55% mark with Xaden and someone from his past, jaw on the floor. That whole chapter I was not expecting. I guess I don't have much to say other than that, except for I'm extremely annoyed because my pre-order from Barnes & Noble shipped out on the 17th. I knew it wouldn't come on the 21st of release date, but it was originally projected to be here, I think 2 days after that. It is still sitting at, I'm kind of confused because it shipped from Barnes & Noble, went to UPS. It ended up getting to my local, I don't know if it's USPS now or it's at the local UPS, and I've tried contacting them and I'm still waiting on a reply. But it's been sitting there since the 21st, just saying acceptance pending. But like the line before that says something about it's en route to a USPS in Ohio, and then it just says that it arrived in my town. It doesn't specify if it's at USPS or UPS. So I'm thinking it got transferred over to my local mail, but I'm annoyed because I cannot figure out a way to really contact them, because I tried submitting a claim through UPS just because it's been sitting in the same spot for 5 days now, and there's just been no update whatsoever. And it says that it's not eligible for a claim. And then when I've messaged them 2 separate times and I still have not heard anything back from them. So I'm getting extremely annoyed because I went into Barnes & Noble yesterday and there were 3 copies of Onyx Storm just staring me dead in the eyes. And I was like, this is rude and unnecessary. My husband told me to just buy the physical copy right there and then take the other one back when I get it. But like, I don't have a Barnes & Noble really close to me. The closest one is like a 45-minute drive, and I really just don't want to get that and then have to drive 45 minutes to go take it back, even though that'd give me an excuse to go back to Barnes & Noble. Maybe I should have just done that. 60% of the way through, and I have no complaints for this book so far. I am thoroughly enjoying where it's going, the plot to it. All the characters, I'm liking all of them. There's not a single one that is bugging me. If anything, this is making me like every single character that much more. I think this definitely redeemed Iron Flame. I still really enjoyed Iron Flame, especially on my reread, but that one still holds true to like the 4.25. where the first one was a 5-star for me, and so far I'm getting like 6-star with this one. I think this one might be my favorite book in the series so far. I'm gonna knock on wood on that one because I still have 40% of this book to get through. I just got to chapter 52, and the ending to chapter 51, don't do this shit to me. I don't want to do this anymore. I still have 16% of this book left. Some shit better change. Just why? Like why? Why? Why do we have to do this? I'm not having a fun time right now. It's not anywhere near what I expected to, not expected, but like in the worst case scenarios. Like this wasn't the worst case scenario, but it hurts just as bad. I will let you know that. Why am I doing this to myself? I'm not having fun. I have had fun, and now I'm not. And now I'm questioning my life choices. So I finished Onyx Storm yesterday, and I gave myself last night to sleep on it, really let it soak in, and I have decided that this gets 5 stars, bordering on 6 stars. Easily my favorite book in the series so far. I love the direction that every single character took, especially Violet. I really wasn't her biggest fan in the first or the second book. I didn't mind her. It's not like I disliked her. I just was annoyed with her, and I didn't think that she was that great of a female main character. But this book completely changes. Completely changes. She became exactly what I would expect from someone in a war college, especially the Writers Quadrant. And the ending to this is just a simple what the fuck. It was like 3 or 4 chapters before the ending. I don't remember exactly what chapter it happened, but it straight up had me sobbing. And I had a feeling that she was going to do something with that character. There were 2 characters that I expected something to happen with, and I knew that it was going to destroy me, but it honestly wasn't the route that I expected it to go. But it still destroyed me all the same. I'm glad with part of the ending, how it went, but the other part, I don't know. I definitely thought that the ending would destroy me a lot more so than it did, just because I'm trying to say this in a way that is so vague it will not spoil anything for anyone else. The ending still had me crying, and I still was just like, I need the next book immediately, but it didn't destroy me in the way that I thought it would. Mainly just because she kind of gives you like a cushion chapter that gives a little bit more insight that makes it a little less heart-wrenching at the very end. But holy shit, I desperately need the next book now. I need to know what is gonna happen with everyone, because she definitely, like, the more I thought about it, the more realization set in of like, there are just so many things that happen in the end that are complete cliffhangers. Like, there's obviously the main plot point, but then on top of it, there's a couple side things that like aren't immediately something that I thought of, but then the longer I sat on this book, I was like, wait a second, she doesn't talk about this person, she doesn't talk about that person. It's very left up in the air of what happened. And the more I think about it, the more I need the next book, because there's just so many unknowns, and knowing that I'm gonna have to wait a year to find out, I'm just immediately throwing myself into the next book. Because if I don't, and I sit here and think about this book and question and try and like nitpick at everything that happened before to find some sort of clue, I'm going to go into a reading slump. So I'm just going to move on immediately and try my best not to linger on this book. But wow, if you didn't like Iron Flame, I personally think that this one definitely redeems itself. And I think that she did a very good job in the direction she went with all the characters. I think that they were a lot more tolerable, a lot more enjoyable, a lot less frustrating in this book. And the yearning was everything in this book. It was everything. Xaden was everything in this book. The use of the nickname Love had me melting. It's such a simple nickname, but like, he reminded me a lot of Klaus from Vampire Diaries in this book. So if you were a Klaus girly, I think you'll be a Xaden girly in this one, because definitely reminded me a lot of him. I'm living for this one, and I hope that the next one stays in the same realm of the character development and the things that were said, the things that happen. I hope it keeps on going with this, because I loved it. I really don't have any complaints about this book that I can think of. Was it cheesy in some spots? Yes, of course it was. Does that make it any less enjoyable to me? No, I'm very easy to please. It does not take much. So, you know, if you're critical on romances, especially modern, like new romances, you'll probably nitpick this apart. Let's be honest. But for someone who's easy to please and does not take much to make me kick my feet and giggle, I was eating this book up. That's all I was thinking about. I could not bring myself to do or want to do anything other than sit down and read this book. It took me longer than I wanted it to, but honestly, it's kind of okay. It was nice to kind of take a step back from being sucked into that world. But yeah, so now I'm just gonna move on to another book and try my hardest not to end up in a reading slump. But the more I talk about this, the more I feel myself falling into a reading slump. So also, Rydick, I know I'm not the only one. I love myself a little comedian side character, but also I need to know more about Bodhi. It's as simple as that. Also, I love Taryn's nickname for Xaden in this whole entire book, and how triggered it makes Violet every single time. It had me laughing. And Taryn is everything. He did not disappoint in this book, just like he hasn't in any other book. The grumpy, sarcastic asshole. I love it. I absolutely love him. I'm trying to find some of my favorite quotes. Telling me you're capable of horrible things while still loving me is pretty much your idea of foreplay. Also, can we ever go wrong with shadows? I don't think so. This one was from Violet, and she says, and if you're going to wield, then it's me you'll be dealing with. And that's like one of the first moments where I'm like, wow, she's actually going to be a badass in this book, and I'm excited. Rebecca knew what she was doing in this book, man. The yearning, the jealousy, the shadows, I mean everything. Everything. On this one, she says, we live by the codex, and he cuts her off and says, I live by you. When have I ever given a fuck about the codex or the code of conduct? I am yours and you are mine, and there's no law or rule in this world or the next that will change that. And then, of course, Xaden coming in with the talking to a higher up. The higher up says, do you understand? And Zayden's reply is that you're an asshole? Absolutely. And insulting you isn't against the code of conduct. I checked. And then Rydick is so funny. He says, I'm either completely in love with your boyfriend or utterly terrified of him. Not sure at the moment. Yes, love, I'm jealous. Screaming, crying. And when they're like off traveling and there is someone who ends up joining them, it happens in chapter 21. There is a scene with Zayden that, oh my gosh, I was losing my mind on it. It was it. Yeah, that's just a couple of like the parts that I really was like screaming and kicking my feet. The ending had me screaming and crying. No form of happiness happening in that. That is all that I have for you guys in this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my future videos. New uploading is going to be on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for the foreseeable future. But thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!